Last week, I discovered the category of men's adventure fiction, which has a bunch of AI art covers of just hot fantasy girls. And I was like, what's going on here? I made a mistake thinking that the contents of this were pretty much like women's romance, which are just like, and he thrust his giant werewolf, whatever. You can use your imagination from that point. Apparently, I was wrong. So, very interesting. I got a lot of comments on YouTube, so thank you guys for tuning in. And some of the authors actually tuned in themselves, and I've talked to several of them at this point, and they are really nice people. They're very good writers, it turns out, too. And I have some information on this stuff that it makes it really interesting. They are definitely cheesecake covers that are meant to draw attention, which makes sense as a marketing tactic. But the contents inside are very different than what I thought. And there's a few different genres this actually encompasses that are kind of overlap in readership, but not exactly, that are very anime-inspired. And I'm going to get into exactly what's going on in just a moment. So please hit the like and subscribe button. Join us here as we talk about all things in fantasy and science fiction. Really appreciate you being here. I'm a fantasy author myself. This is my book, The Demon's Eye, and it is a classic-style fantasy, sword and sorcery, strong male lead who goes out and fights against evil. It's really good stuff. I think you'll enjoy this if you like the classics, if you like Poul Anderson, if you like Chronicles of Amber, that kind of thing. This book is for you. It's a standalone. It's meant to be a one and done. Very, very successful launch, which I appreciate. And because of that, I'm going to definitely be doing more in genre. But yes, read this today. I think you'll enjoy it. It's in the description below. Thank you so much for supporting good books. And let's get into this men's adventure fiction and drill into it because it's pretty interesting what goes on here. So this is basically multiple genres. There's lit RPG, which is interesting on this level. I'm a big RPG player from way back, and I honestly never read a lit RPG actually before this week. And so what it does is it opens up with like stats and like of a person, and the person progresses in their stats like you're progressing an RPG character. It's got typical fantasy plots for the most part, but that's what goes on in this level. So I honed in on Trailer Park Elves last week because it's the number one. I'm like, this is number one. It's also in the top 5 here with the first book's in number 4, the second book's number 6. It is a huge thing, obviously, right here. With a bunch of other books inside here, and Enchanter. I talked to this writer as well. This series here is a little different. So theirs is actually this is what they've done is they've taken the lit RPG thing, which I mentioned, and they kind of made it to a joke humorous kind of thing. So if you think like what Deadpool did to comics and how it it made fun of superhero tropes and things like that, that's kind of what they did with this. So this is actually a humor novel, which I apologize. What I assumed was this was going to be, it was. I remember this one from way back, Taken by the Pterodactyl, and I remember when this first came out, and we were all making fun of this on the internet. This is what I was thinking it was going to be, which is oh my gosh, pretty degenerate. Now this, like I said, over here is meant to be a humor novel. And they actually gave an interesting interview on this on Fandom Pulse, which is my Substack, and they talked about the genre in a way which was pretty interesting. So I read the first few chapters of it, and I was like, oh, okay, I understand this now, and it's not just smutty stuff. They claim there is some sexual stuff in it at some point, but it's not like the predominant amount of text in here. Now, the author of Enchanters is similar. This is not an lit RPG or anything like that. This is like a Witch Academy sort of thing, and it reads like a Harry Potter in college kind of situation. But it really focuses not on the big, adventure against the Dark One. That's kind of what I'm writing, right? It focuses on the slice of life and getting to know the college co-ed witch there and et cetera. And it's immensely popular because of that. And so I talked to the guy on this one as well. And he said, he actually was like, I just wrote 6,000 words of the main character and a girl going on a date. And that's a lot of words. If you don't know, most chapters in books like this size are usually between 1,000 and 2,000 words. So he really did the slice of life really hard. And I'm like, okay, so this is basically like slice of life romance anime, right? And lit RPG is a lot like anime as well. There's a lot of the dungeon animes and the like that are part of that. And then there's also on top of that, just isekai adventures where these people get killed, in a weird way, but end up in a fantasy world that they have to kind of fight their way out of and whatnot. And so there's a lot to this genre here. Now, I don't know about Land of the Lust, but there's a lot more to it than I originally initially thought. And it's pretty interesting on this level. So I talked to the folk from Trailer Park Elves. I did an exclusive interview, and I hope you'll sign up for Phantom Pulse in the description below. I've decided, since this is a book reading audience, that at this point I'm going to cover this genre because what I've noticed is the sites like Tor.com, or Reactor, or whatever they call themselves now, IGN, Comic Book Resources, nobody covers this, even though they are the top-selling books out there. So I'm going to try to actually get some authors' attention and then talk about them, talk about their new releases and things like that on here. We have a lot of book different talk on here. Of course, I've got this. We've got an interesting talk about women's romance, which is, again, what I was thinking was going on here. It's definitely a different thing from what I could tell. I've got NaNoWriMo talk. So I do a lot of coverage of books by itself. And so this seems like why shouldn't we also go forward and cover the community that's actually extremely a large readership that's covering this stuff. It makes a lot of sense. So I'm glad you guys found us. And because of that, I'm going to be like, okay, we're going to adjust our content to service you guys. And that's kind of what these guys did here. So Michael Dalton and Adam Lance actually talked with me, did an extensive interview. This is frankly one of the best interviews I've ever done with anybody. These guys gave thoughtful answers. They were very in-depth. And I actually asked the question, right, because I wanted to ask the very difficult question. It looks a lot like this is men's romance genre, similar to what we see with women's, like I was saying, where it's erotica-driven. Do you see these works as pornographic, or is that mostly a misconception about the genre? And this is what they said. It's definitely a misconception. I tell hopeful harem-lit authors that these are best viewed as romance and adventures novels for men, not erotica. So, and this is exactly what the fellow that Jack Bryce told me also. And so he said very similar. It's much more about that adventure, the progression, just like the building a cool male character and all that. It's very interesting. Harem erotica certainly exists as a subgenre, so this does exist. You have to watch out for it, but there's not a lot of overlap between what we write and that stuff in either content or the audience. In fact, most harem-lit readers don't want a lot of sex in their books. The spice has to be a payoff for a well-developed romance arc, not there for its own sake. They want to see a main character as someone who deserves to get the girl because he's earned their affections through who he is and what he's done, and then should any action happen in the bedroom. He says it's also worth noting that readers don't like love interests who have a lot of experience or even any at all. They prefer to see women with traditional attitudes about sex and romance, who devote themselves to the main character and never look at another man. Very interesting on that level. It's definitely not about casual sex, cheating, or sleeping around. Those themes are very unpopular with readers and usually enough to kill a writer's career in the genre. I've seen quite a few authors come over from harem and erotica thinking they can write harem lit and get savaged by readers because they don't actually know what it's about. Pretty interesting on that level. And that's what I've seen on, actually, when I was checking out, I actually checked out Red Elf Ranch, which was Dalton's other book series, and Trailer Park Elves. I saw that it was much more action-driven, right? That there was a lot of rescue scenarios, defend the woman scenarios that are much more traditional with action books and things like that. So like I said, it looks like, and he says there is some that overlaps with this. So I think you do got to watch out and make sure you're reading something that does not delve into that sort of thing if you're trying to actually just get a good adventure fiction. But it looks like they just found the formula that putting a hot girl on the cover wins, and that's how it works. And then they have their strong male lead adventure fiction, which is actually much more based on a lot of levels than a lot of other fiction out there, especially from what I've seen from mainstream publishing. So interesting find here. I'm definitely going to see what we can do on this level, and I'll call out the good books for you guys, because that's something that needs to be found, and we need to find good men's literature because the mainstream is not servicing anybody out there, and that's what gives some big opportunity here. So interesting stuff. Hopefully you'll check out this full interview. I'll paste this in the description below as well. Thank you guys for being here, and also check out my book. It's called The Demon's Eye. I think you'll really like it if you just like classic fantasy. That's a lot of fun. It's in the description below as well as my other links. And yes, these guys are cool. So check out their books as well. Thank you for being here. And I was wrong. Leave a comment down below. We'll be back soon.